Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC, San Diego on location, and I am with a new friend of mine by way of New Jersey to San Diego, straight to my abs, Sean Gagnon, president of the Abs Company. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. IHRSA, San Diego.
So what number IHRSA is this for you? How long you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry since the mid-90s. This is our 13th IHRSA, though, 13 consecutive.
Impressive. So I think probably most of the people on this in this audience on this podcast are going to know the name Ab Roller.
Yep.
They're going to probably have had that product that they've used at some point in their life, or they've seen enough infomercials to say, I should have bought that and I just didn't have the motivation to actually do it, or I got it, I did it, I use it. It's probably in my house somewhere, and every once in a while I'm going to go pop that out, or I'm an avid user, you know, and they just kind of stay with it. So talk about, you know, how you came up with the invention with a couple partners, how the journey and the trip has been, and any kind of, you know, episodic stories you could share as, you know, nuggets of wisdom here.
Sure,
and go from there.
So the Ab Roller was invented by a guy by the name of Don Brown, and that was in the mid-90s. And at that time, I was just coming out of school, and I was working. He also owned some health clubs, and I was working in his clubs as a trainer. And so I got a kind of behind-the-scenes look at that entire thing and watched it go down. Watched him get copied by over 28 companies. Watched him, you know, spend $12 million legal fees, but watched that product go on to sell over $1 billion in revenue.
Wow,
so worldwide.
crazy.
And so to anyone in the audience who has one, I'm sure he thanks you. And if you don't have one, they're still for sale. So that's cool. But the great thing about that, the success of that product, was a lot of inventors started to come to us with ideas for new items, right?
Because you became like a channel, you're like a tastemaker.
He,
and
you know,
distribution,
really Don
right?
was, because he was the guy who had this idea and actually monetized it, right?
Sure.
Everybody has an idea, but they don't know what to do with them, right?
Sure.
Or they don't have the guts, or any number of things, right?
Yeah, sure.
So the next product that came to us was an idea for an ab product that worked from the bottom up. Everything at the time was a crunch, right? You would bring your shoulders toward your knees as opposed to vice versa.
Yeah, I've done a couple.
Yeah, there you go. So this guy came to us and he said, hey, if there was an ab product that worked from the bottom up, that would be unique and revolutionary, right? So when he first brought it to us, it was a straight track. So you'd pull your knees up a straight track. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool, but it seems to have been done as well. You know, there's a very famous product called Total Gym out there, still the number one infomercial product of all
Chuck
time.
Norris, man, that guy never ages.
He does not.
He's like 105 selling like...
And still would whoop our tails.
Yeah, probably.
So I kind of pushed it aside, you know, went back to what I was doing. And about a year later, Don called me and he said, hey, I figured that thing out. I'm like, what thing? He goes, remember that ab thing? I said, yeah. He goes, you got to curve the track. I'm like, holy cow. Yeah. So that was it. That's where it started. And we went, you know, we worked on it for a little bit. And then 2007, we showed up in San Francisco, IHRSA, 2 handmade prototypes, put it on the floor, and away we went.
Where we at?
No, the ab coaster is you kneel and you pull your knees up the track.
Yeah, here we go. I got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was it. You know, it was really revolutionary because, you know, it was the first time that somebody was moving in that direction as opposed to the top down.
Sure.
And the magic of that product, too, was that the seat swiveled so you could do your obliques in it, which is a very difficult movement.
I remember. So were the people that were on the commercials, did they actually do that beforehand, or you were doing like workout videos and also like instructional as part of like the infomercials? Yeah,
so we launched commercially, right, to the health clubs here, and then simultaneously we launched the infomercial for it. And the way that works is you get a focus group, you put them together, you put them through a workout routine on it, and you get real before and after. So it's legit.
Yeah, I feel like somewhere over the last like 10 years, people forgot that people go to the gym to get results.
Yeah.
And they created like all this other crazy entertainment and that's why people go here. They're not going here because, you know, they just like the music and they're trying to get a Tootsie Roll. You know?
Yeah. Look, they go for what we say the perceived results, right? They know that I need to be doing that.
Yeah,
I need to be getting healthier.
Sell me hope and opportunity. And
yeah. Look, the abs infomercial business was about selling that dream. You know, we gave you everything you needed: cardio plan, meal plan, and a piece of exercise equipment. Now it's on you.
So first, before we actually go into like the details of the company and how it's evolved, educate people on back, you know, go back, you know, 13, 14 years ago and say like, okay, what's the minimum purchase that either Don or you or your investors had to make in order to say, look, even for me to like get a shot at creating a big company here, I got to go put down like $1 million or $2 million worth of inventory, just because that game has not changed. Like those, you know, Asian suppliers or any supplier for that matter is not taking equity risk on your sales.
Yeah.
They're like, look, I make a product for you, I get paid. Like I don't care when you get paid. That's not my problem.
Right. That's right.
So like when you maybe currently, and then also in this original product, how did you how did the company bootstrap their way through, or did you get a commercial? Loan.
Never had an investor. Never did that. Never took on outside funds. The beauty of it, what we learned through the whole infomercial process, was the value of the test. Right. So when we came to that first IHRSA 2007, we had 2 handmade prototypes. That's it. We had no inventory. Didn't matter. Right. Because if nobody cared, who cares? So we put them out there, and then when we saw that there was a great response, then you go up. You had to put a little money out of our own pockets.
Purchase orders, or just had enough trust your.
We had enough people saying, I'll take it, right?
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. And then,
a verbal purchase order.
Yeah, then we said, hey, let's launch that infomercial. And that's capital intensive to do that sort of thing. But again, it's capital intensive to get the production, but you don't do the inventory until you get a positive test result. Then you go in on the inventory.
All right, well, how deep do you go into an inventory on something like that? Because I'm just dealing with something right now where all right, you got to buy 100,000 units.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like $300,000 purchase on something that one of our clients is doing, and another one's like $1 million. They're trying to figure out, do I get a line of credit? I just valued my company at like $5 million. Do I go and sell another $1 million of my company and sell 16% of the business to fund inventory? So how did you guys do it, and how do you do it now?
Yeah, so back in those days, after the positive test of the result of that infomercial test, you can buy, container quantities, about 400 units. So we'd bring in a couple of containers worth. You put less than $100,000, you can be in that game.
Just keep turning that.
Right, just keep turning that. And then ultimately you have to ramp that up. Because the biggest spend in that game is the media spend.
Sure.
You got to get that return on media. But there's media finance, and there's all sorts of other aspects for that too.
What were you doing? Were you on the media side? Like some people say, if I'm doing something on cable or I'm doing something on direct response, like basically I have an open budget.
Right.
So as long as you're turning this at this, at 3x or 4x, I want my advertising cost to be, $20, whatever the right number is per unit.
Yeah.
So what part were you involved with, and what have you become an expert in besides everything that related to your business, as every entrepreneur?
In the infomercial side, we always looked at, if you got that 1-to-1, if I return my money on my advertising, it's free, right? It's free advertising to get that. The whole goal of the infomercial game is to drive the products into retail. Right, because for every 1 sold on infomercial, you can sell up to 10 at retail.
Is that like as seen on TV, like that kind of?
Yeah, Walmart, Sears, Target. That game has definitely changed now. But still, the majority of the people want to touch and feel things. Right, They're not just going to buy it off the TV.
Well, what percentage of your current business is going through direct from the internet versus actually going into traditional retail?
So we do none in traditional retail now. So it's all direct to the consumer. From the consumer side of the business, it's all direct to the consumer. But there's no more infomercials anymore either. It's Facebook, right? It's Facebook, it's Instagram, which is great because for the cost of doing 1 infomercial, I got to do 100 Facebook ads. 1,000 Facebook ads. So and I have direct access to the exact people I want to reach, as opposed to hoping.
Do you feel like just as an aside on the media, when you developed an infomercial, you develop a commercial, like the amount of fine tuning and you're like level of perfection versus saying like, hey, look, we're going to kind of riff like a 3-minute video. It's going to live on the web for like a couple of days, maybe a couple hours, maybe a couple of weeks, whatever it is. How do you think about like what you want the brand to represent and like your level of attention to detail and perfection versus like, all right, look, I'm popping this up. We can always take it down. Okay, let's just test it. I'm not paying $50,000 for a shoot.
Right.
Let's have like real people doing real things and see if that sells real results.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So how do you guys think about that?
Absolutely. When you're on TV, production value matters much more.
Yeah,
right.
So
now in this world, I think people like organic, right? They like natural things.
It looks like it's authentic.
Looks real. Yeah. Even if you mess up a little bit, no big deal, right? That's real life. So
that's why we're doing all this podcast.
That's right. I mess up all the time.
And going on as we go.
It's natural.
Yeah. So to talk us through, so the company does a test, which we encourage everyone to do.
Absolutely.
Don't go and buy 100,000 pieces of equipment and then trust your gut. I mean, it's free to talk to people.
Yep.
Second thing is you go and you get this purchase order, verbal purchase orders. You go and get enough of an inventory to basically say, okay, I'm going to start the sales cycle. And inventory management. And then what happened after that, and how, when the name changed and how you took over the business and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so in '07, right, we launched that Ab Coaster, and then for the next 2 years, that was the product, right? '07, '08, '09, Ab Coaster was it, and it really started to gain some traction. We started to build a Rolodex of great companies in this industry that, a beginning company with only one product would be tough to handle, but it spoke to the innovation, right?
Sure.
So the great thing was then we realized that there was a need for ab-centric products in the clubs.
Right.
Because it was the one area of the club that was more of what I would call flea market approach. If you looked at a line of cardio treadmills, you didn't have 4 different manufacturers of treadmill in one line. You generally picked one, you went with it. But in the ab area, that didn't exist. So we said, hey, what if we could create that and say, we'll give you 3, 4, 5, 6 different ab products and put them in because it's a hot area of the club. And so we took a shot on that, right?
I mean, if you could get everyone just to get their abs in like somewhat reasonable, like not a 12-pack that has like a box around it.
Yep.
I'm at like an 8-pack basically,
Which
in
would
like
be
a
cool.
cardboard box.
Yep.
You can't see the 8-pack; it's underneath. You know what I'm talking about? If people went into the gym and they saw that kind of results on their waistline,
Yeah.
people would never leave the gym. So it's almost like, okay, you give me 6. You're gonna give me, a 6, ab products and 100 treadmills. If I flipped that around and everyone just did 20 minutes of ab workouts, you'd have like everyone would have their shirt off. Like the place would be crushing it. No.
Well, the reality is that people equate having flat abs with being fit. Just how it is, right? You see someone else.
I do.
Someone's
I
flat,
think
right?
that way.
They're fit, right? Men, women, everywhere. So it's something that people aspire to.
Yeah.
We all know in this business that it's not just doing ab work that's going to get you there. You have to do everything else, the cardio, the nutrition, all those things. But
Sure.
what the ab products give you is a place that every member can win. And that's the big problem that the health clubs face today. People walk in, they're intimidated. They're scared. Me
Sure.
and you might walk into a gym like, holy crap, this is awesome.
We might go together and just crush it
Yeah, we
together.
might just do it.
People might actually leave.
They may be intimidated by us. I can see that. Yeah.
We'll get some tank tops. Maybe go over there after lunch, hang out for like 2 hours.
That's right. We're in San Diego. We can do that.
Do some ab workouts. What are you doing today? Only abs.
Just abs. Maybe
Straight abs.
Maybe
dude.
some calves.
Yeah, abs and calves. Abs and calves. I like that.
So what it is, it gives those people a chance where, hey, everybody can win here. If
Sure.
you're winning in the club, you're going to come back.
I hear, and you feel like the results that you feel in your abs is better than
Absolutely.
anything else. So I'm
Yep.
with you on that. Okay, so the company goes direct response. You got the every consumer knows what this product is. Then you've got the clubs to say, okay, look, I'm going to put this inside, and then you had the ability to do the more traditional retail back in the day.
Yeah.
What happened with your partners? And what's the evolution of the company? Maybe give us some words of wisdom on how you dealt with partnerships. How those are kind of like marriages, and they ebb and flow, and they take work. And at some point, I just sold sold part of a business with a buddy of mine who's a very close friend of mine. I wasn't passionate about it anymore, and I felt like it wasn't dead money, but it was I had no access to it. I couldn't borrow against it. Like I wanted to do something else.
Right.
So how did your partnership evolve? And state whatever you want to state, and if you want us to bleep things out, I'll try and buy something that does that, or try and get a better audio guy.
Yeah. So, I've been the two
It's a
guys,
joke,
Don
but
and
I love
Dave,
it.
we're together for 20 years. We worked together, and they were really, they were much further along in business than I was when I was starting. So we were like mentors to me. I really learned a lot. But it got to the point where, everybody started to have different interests, like you said, and we just said, look, it's time now.
Yeah.
When I started, I was 25 years old. 20 years later, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm ready to do this on my own, take my
Right.
shot. So they were cool. They had other things that they were interested in doing. We said, hey, let's do it. I'll pay you, or you pay me, either way.
Uh-huh.
I paid them, and here we are.
How important? It sounds like it was a great partnership.
Great. Still is.
How important was the documentation and like the operating agreement and buy-sell provisions, fair market value? If any of that's fresh in your mind.
Yeah, no, I don't know what any of that is. With us, we're New Jersey guys. We stuck out our hand, we shook each other's hands, said, "Here's our deal." Right?
That's even a better agreement.
That's how we did it.
So, but was it based on like we had this ownership and
Yep.
without disclosing too much, let's say it was a third.
Yep.
Like, okay, we're going to value the company at $10 million, so you guys everyone's worth 3.3, and I'll buy your 3.3 out over this period of time, and is that kind of like
exactly
how it went
right.
down?
We had our percentages, and we never really got into valuations or any of that until it was time to sell it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Then we
yeah.
got the banks in, and that's where you divide things up. It gets a little dicey at times, but
Sure.
we came to an agreement.
That's great. That's great. How long ago was that?
We closed June 18th of 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so this is a new thing for you.
Just
now.
happened, yeah.
All right, so now how do you feel about being a lonely entrepreneur? You want to come to entrepreneurial therapy class that we're going to host next month?
I love it, man. I love it. You know, operationally, nothing really changed for me, but mentally, just been great. You know, just knowing that everything that I'm doing is all for me and
Yeah,
so
that's
on.
great.
So it's great. Yep.
How many people are in the company?
So we have 15 people in the company. And actually, there's another gentleman, his name's Mike, and he and I are the ones that created the Tire Flip 180 product that we had together.
Yeah.
So when I did the buyout, I said to him, I said, hey, do you want to stay partners on that product, or do you want to roll it into the abs company and take a little equity in the whole piece? And he went with that. So now he's an equity partner in the business with me as well. And we've been friends for 25 years, so that's been great. And
Nice.
friends first, and then, you know, the business stuff works itself out.
Gotcha. I see you went to University of Florida. My sister, Alicia Moore, and Jordan Mountainer, was my brother-in-law. Both went to University of Florida. So
Nice.
we got a big Gator contingent.
There you
in
go.
my,
Go Gators.
in the family.
Yeah.
So you got the company. You're basically controlling your own destiny. Had some really good partners, which is nice to hear.
Yep.
A handshake deal. That's kind of what we preach here at the Square. Like if we agree on a deal and we shake on it and we look at each other in the eye, like the legal document should come back identical to what we just agreed upon. I'm not
That's
sure
right.
how things could have changed
Yep.
from a red line,
Yep.
from a conversation to a Word document. It's supposed to be the same thing.
Yep.
So how do you view your company now? What you're trying to achieve? Obviously, there's a lot of noise in the market. There's a lot of people that come up with new products.
Yep.
A lot of people that come up with new health club opportunities and concepts, and a lot of them get funded because I think this industry, if there's a personal trainer and I'm their member and they changed my life,
Yep.
and I lost 50 pounds, which I didn't, by the way. I lost about 15.
Go.
Just telling
Great.
people. Thanks. People are more willing to give their trainer money, which creates irrational development, which creates irrational companies that should really just be a product extension of someone else.
Yes.
And somebody should make some iteration of the ab workout, and they should say, hey, this isn't a company, this is a product. Let me go call Sean and see if I can get like a couple of points, and I'll license it and be an inventor.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of noise related to that. So what's your vision? Where do you want to take this? I love the fact that you're kind of like, I'm not trying to create another $1 billion company. If it happens, that's awesome, and you might catch a huge wave. But you got a nice business. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to take care of you and your family, your employees.
Yep.
So how do you calibrate? Talk about first what do you want to do for the next 3 to 5 years, personal and professional, and then how that kind of fits into what your vision, what your personal and professional objectives are.
Sure. Yeah.
That was a long-winded way to ask you a question.
Yeah,
man.
I got it,
apologize
though.
for
I was
that.
following along.
All right, cool. Go.
At the end of the day, for me, business is two things. It's innovation and marketing. That's all that it really is. And we pride ourselves on innovation. So when you come see us at the show or anywhere else that you see us, you're going to see something you haven't seen before.
Okay.
And, people do exactly what you said. They come up with a product idea, and they come to us all the time. We have a great flow of ideas. And we're selective. We have to be, right?
Sure,
We can't be throwing money at everything. But if it can fit under our umbrella, we're happy to run with it. But it often gets sticky when people say, hey, you get down to the deal points and people are unrealistic in what they can get for it. And I say, hey, do what I did then. Go out and take your shot, right? You go out there and take your shot. Maybe you make it, maybe you don't, who knows, right? But bringing it under an umbrella and then you focus on what you do best, creating products, let us do the heavy lifting for you.
Sure.
It works. You know? So our plan over the next 3 years is to continue to innovate, whether they be our own innovations. We're launching 2 more here at the show today.
Okay.
One came to us from an inventor, one I did myself.
Gotcha.
And continuing to stay in our lane. That's what we do.
That's great. That's
Yep.
great. So you've been an entrepreneur and business guy for 20 plus years.
Yep.
What's your you got any good management or executive quotes or things you live by, or something cool we should know that I might be able to take away here and maybe reuse it at my leisure?
Sure, yeah, I have them. They're called Seanisms. We say them around the
There we
office
go.
all the time.
I like it. All right, give me some Seanisms.
My number one is
Bring it.
the lion eats first.
The lion eats first.
The lion eats first. A few years ago, I went on a safari, and we're in Africa, and I was observing. It wasn't a hunting safari, an observation safari, and I saw the lions feed, right? And the lion, the king of the jungle, the head of the pride, he ate first.
None of any of his soldiers.
Not the lionesses who actually did the kill. They didn't eat first.
Really?
The lion ate first, right? Do you know why the lion eats first?
So he can protect everyone after he's finished?
Exactly right. Because he has to be healthy, he has to be strong, he has to protect the pride. So when I say that, sometimes people think, oh, you're the lion, Sean. I'm not the lion. I'm not the lion at all. The lion is the business. So every decision that we make has to make sure that business is healthy. Because if the business is not healthy, then I'm not healthy, the team is not healthy, the products aren't healthy, my customers aren't healthy.
Wow.
So the lion eats first.
I like it.
That's it. Simple philosophy.
Give me another one.
From nature. SDS. Don't do the SDS. It's the same dumb stuff. Or from New Jersey, you know what that is. We use a different word over there because that's what I see all the time.
What, daily?
So don't do the same dumb shit, right? People come to events like this.
Dumb shit.
They get motivated.
DDSDS.
What?
DDSDS. Don't do the same.
Don't do the same dumb. See, that's complicated. Mine's that. Don't do the same dumb shit.
Well, I got to make it seem like it's mine. I don't want to bar everything. I want to do the first one. Liney's first. I'm going to be like, yeah, my buddy Gagnon talk about that.
We'll get T-shirts.
I mean, that's fine. As long as they're big and bold. All right.
So the same dumb shit is people get motivated for a minute, and then they go back to their desk, and within 2 days, they're doing the same dumb shit again, right? And then they're wondering why they didn't get a result. So you learn something new, you got to go with it. If something's working, stick with it. If it's not working, you got to change it up, right? It's that simple, right?
Some people say, I mean, and there was a software company I was involved with, and we're getting all this data back about like, hey, look, people really want to get leads from the internet. They don't want to get fitness nutrition programs. This is like 18 years ago. And instead of saying this is what the market's telling us, my partner, who you know, bless his heart, you know, he's an artist. But you know, he was like, look, it's because these products aren't good enough. Like, we got to make these products good. And I'm like, no, there's no demand for it. It doesn't matter how good it is. Like, we're on AOL dial-up. Somebody wants to sell membership. They don't want to sell something that they don't even understand how to get to. So
you've heard the statement that good is the enemy of great, but it goes the other way. Great is the enemy of good too. People think everything's got to be perfect before you get it out there. Like I said, I came to this first source with 2 handmade prototypes. Let's see if it works, right? They were good enough to get there. They're minimum viable, right? And that's what you have to go to. If you sit there and the other thing I say all the time in the office is TPE. It means think, plan, execute, right? You got to think about things first. Then you got to have a solid plan, but you got to execute. And people get stuck along the way. Some people jump right into execute. They screw up. They had no plan. Other people just sit around think and plan all day. They don't do anything.
So we're going to be fast friends. So I came. Someone asked me like 10 years ago, like, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a dream architect. So people come to me and they say, okay, I want to architect this business, this dream, and I'm like, all right, this is your dream. You've got to architect it like you're building a house, right? So there's like a plan, there's a path. Like we need a blueprint because it's not going to happen. But you come in here and picture me and tell me, you know, I'm gonna have this $500 million company and like 250 clubs. I'm like, dude, you have like no clubs right now. Let's get one club. Let's make sure that works. And then we can talk about it. So the architectural design and plan is like one location. You can have that plan and put it on your refrigerator, and that's awesome. But let's like make sure there's a business here. I feel like people don't validate the business and they want to grow. And they don't know what they want to, like, what do you get if you grow? You think you're going to make a lot of money? Well, it's hard work.
It's hard work.
You better like doing it.
That's the other thing I say all the time. One of those Seanisms, I say, this ain't romper room, right?
I love that
I grew up then. Romper room, everybody got a turn, right? Everybody had a chance.
Was that part of the Mr. Rogers, or was it separate? It was a separate show.
It was a separate show, yeah. God bless him. But everybody thinks it's fun, it's easy, everybody gets a shot. You don't, man. You have to get in there and you got to do the work and you have to prove it. Results matter, right? Results matter. And that's part of the planning, that's part of the execution. You build on result.
Awesome. Well, we got these calendars. I don't know where they are, but we got a win-loss calendar. So every day you decide if you won or lost, completely subjective.
Love it.
So since we don't have any sponsors on this podcast, somewhat because we haven't asked for any, but we haven't had any. So we're going to say this one's sponsored by the letter W for winning. Congrats on your success.
Thank you.
Look forward to watching the lion eat first and to help millions of people get the results that they want. So thanks for coming on the show. Great to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome,
Great time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.